The chandelier's light caught the exact moment of my sister Brittany's smirk as she turned to the wedding planner. "Don't seat her anywhere near the front," she announced, loud enough for everyone in the ballroom to hear. "She doesn't belong there." A wave of laughter rippled through her bridesmaids, a cruel symphony disguised as giggles. I didn't drop anything or gasp. Instead, my fingers curled into my palm with such force that my engagement ring cut into my skin, the small pain anchoring me as heat flooded my face. The wedding planner's clipboard lowered slightly, her professional smile faltering as her eyes darted between us. Suddenly caught in family politics she hadn't been warned about, I felt dozens of eyes slide over me, like I was a stain on the venue's immaculate floor. "My name is Emily, I'm 32 and an investment strategist. This is the story of how I stopped being invisible in my own family. I'd spent years perfecting the art of fading into backgrounds, at family gatherings, holiday photos, and especially at Brittany's milestone moments. Each time she'd find some new way to remind everyone I was the lesser sister, the plain one, the quiet one, the one who would never quite measure up. I'd learned to swallow humiliation like medicine, bitter but necessary for keeping the peace. "Come on, Britt, don't be harsh," one bridesmaid muttered weakly, but the damage was already done. Brittany waved her off like I was nothing more than background noise at her grand rehearsal. Just when I thought I could sink no further into the polished marble floor, a hand landed firmly on my shoulder, strong, steady, deliberate. The laughter died instantly. I turned my head slightly, and standing beside me was Nathan Pierce, the tech investor nobody expected at a wedding rehearsal like this. His tailored navy suit looked carved from midnight, his presence cutting through the mockery like a blade. I'd met Nathan 6 months ago when he approached me about investment opportunities, and we'd been quietly dating for the past 3 months, though I hadn't introduced him to my family yet. Another part of my life I'd kept separate from Brittany's constant belittling. "Tell them who you really are. Now," he said, voice dropped low yet carrying to every corner of the room. Every eye locked on me. Every laugh died mid-breath. My pulse hammered against my ribs, my throat tightening. My heart caught between dread and a fire I hadn't allowed myself to feel in years. Brittany's face twisted, her smirk vanishing as her rehearsed confidence slipped. For the first time in years, I lifted my chin. The silence in the ballroom stretched tight as a violin string. Brittany recovered quickly, tossing her perfectly styled hair with a laugh that tried too hard. "Oh, come on. Are we really doing this? She's just Emily, my sister who's always lurking in the background. Don't make her out to be someone important." The word lurking stabbed deeper than any insult she'd thrown before. Guests shifted uncomfortably, their earlier laughter now hollowed out by tension. Nathan's voice cut through the air. "Funny," he said evenly, his gaze sweeping across the crowd, "because from where I stand, it looks like the only person in this room with actual dignity is her." A murmur rippled through the space. My head snapped toward him, lips parting in disbelief. No one, absolutely no one, had ever stood up for me like that in front of Brittany. Brittany's fiancé, James, finally spoke, brow furrowed. "Look, I don't know what this is about, but maybe we should stick to the rehearsal." "We don't need to," Nathan interrupted, his tone so calm it was terrifying. James froze, sinking back into his chair. "Emily," Nathan said softly, for me alone this time, "they don't get to define you. You tell them, or I will." My chest tightened. Every instinct screamed to stay quiet, to fade back into the shadows like always, but something in his eyes, sharp, unrelenting yet patient, ignited something inside me, a spark I'd kept buried for too long. I took a slow breath and stepped forward, my heels striking the floor with purpose, each click echoing louder than the whispers. "You've all spent years treating me like I'm nothing," I began, my voice initially unsteady but gathering strength with each word. I looked directly at Brittany, the bridesmaids, the cousins who had always whispered behind my back. "But maybe that's because you never bothered to see me for who I really am." Brittany scoffed. "And who exactly are you, Emily? You work in some dusty office. You wear secondhand clothes. You show up where you're barely wanted. Don't act like you're suddenly somebody." Gasps circled the room at her cruelty, but Brittany only lifted her chin higher. Before I could answer, Nathan stepped closer, his presence like a storm at my back. "She's not just somebody, Brittany. She's the reason half of you even have jobs." The air cracked open. Confusion spread through the guests like wildfire as they whispered to each other, eyes darting between Nathan and me. Brittany blinked rapidly, her smirk finally gone. "What are you talking about?" I turned to face her fully, my voice no longer trembling. "I'm not the failure you've painted me as my whole life. I've been working in silence, building, investing, and last month..." My chest rose and fell, adrenaline coursing through my veins. "Last month, I became the majority shareholder of the very company you brag about to your friends." The room erupted in shocked gasps. Brittany stumbled back a step, face draining of color. "You're lying. That's impossible." Nathan's lips curved into the faintest smile. "I should know. I was the one who sold her the final shares." The room froze. Even the air felt different. Thicker, charged, alive with scandal. Brittany's fiancé muttered something, but she silenced him with a glare. I let the silence hang, allowing every person to absorb what they'd just heard. For the first time in years, I didn't lower my eyes or shrink away. I met Brittany's stunned gaze, my voice steady and sharp as glass. "So the next time you tell people where I belong, remember this. While you were busy tearing me down, I was busy climbing higher than you ever imagined. After years of careful investments from my earnings as a strategist, I built enough capital to make a move when your company's shares became available during the recent restructuring." Murmurs of approval spread through the guests. Brittany's face contorted with fury, replacing shock. "You think this changes anything? This is my wedding. You'll never be more than a shadow standing in the back." Nathan leaned closer to me, his hand brushing mine in the smallest, most grounding gesture. "Emily, you don't need to stand in the back anymore. Let's show them where you truly belong." Every heart in the room seemed to pound louder, waiting for my next move. The room buzzed with disbelief, conversations clashing like 1,000 whispers colliding. Brittany's perfect posture crumbled, her nails digging into the lace of her dress as her voice cracked through the noise. "You don't get to walk in here and hijack my moment," she spat, eyes wild, darting between Nathan and me. "This rehearsal is about me, not you, so quit pretending you matter." Nathan's jaw tightened, but he remained silent. His silence was louder than thunder, giving me space to speak for myself. For the first time in my life, I didn't shrink under Brittany's fire. I stepped forward, dozens of guests leaning closer, some whispering my name like they were suddenly learning who I was for the very first time. "You're right. This is your rehearsal, and I didn't come here to steal your spotlight." I paused, letting the tension build before I continued. "But you stole mine a long time ago. You've been smirking, mocking, and tearing me down at every turn because you thought I'd never rise high enough to fight back." Gasps rippled across the room. A bridesmaid shifted awkwardly, her hand falling from Brittany's arm as though she wanted no part in this anymore. Brittany laughed sharply, but it was thin and brittle. "You think money makes you better than me? That's all this is, money. Without it, you're still the same pathetic girl standing in my shadow." I straightened, heat surging through my chest, but my voice remained deadly calm. "Money didn't change me, Brittany. Silence did. Every cruel word you threw at me became fuel. Every door you slammed shut, I pried open myself. While you were busy playing perfect daughter, I was building something real, something no one, not even you, can take away." A hush fell over the crowd. This time, no one laughed. Not even the cousins who used to whisper about me behind their napkins. Nathan stepped forward, his presence shadowing Brittany as much as it supported me. His eyes locked on her, cold and unreadable. "You've embarrassed your own sister in front of your family, your fiancé, and your guests. That alone shows who doesn't belong here." Brittany's lips parted, but no words came out. James stood abruptly, his face flushed. "All right, enough. This is ridiculous. Emily, billionaire or not, this isn't the time or place. You're making a scene. I turned to him slowly, my voice sharp. She made a scene when she told your ushers not to seat me near the front. She made a scene when she decided my worth could be mocked publicly. I'm just finishing it. The crowd shifted uneasily. Some nodded in agreement, others exchanged glances. The tide was turning, and I could feel it. Brittany's hands trembled at her sides, her armor finally cracked. "You'll regret this," she whispered harshly. I tilted my head slightly. "I already regret every year I let you step on me without fighting back." Her eyes flashed with fury, but Nathan stepped closer, his voice like steel in the quiet. "She won't be stepping on you anymore. Not now, not ever." Brittany snapped. Her hand shot out, grabbing a champagne glass from the nearest table. She didn't throw it, but slammed it down hard enough that it cracked, liquid splashing across the linen. Gasps rang out. James grabbed her wrist before she could do more, muttering for her to calm down. The sight of Brittany unraveling, the golden bride-to-be cracking in front of her guests, wasn't as satisfying as I'd imagined. It was tragic, but I didn't flinch. I turned to the guests, my voice carrying across the hushed room. I never asked for this moment. I didn't come here to outshine my sister, but maybe it's time you all stop pretending that cruelty disguised as humor is acceptable. Maybe it's time we stop letting laughter cover for cruelty. Silence followed. Even the chandeliers seemed to hum with the weight of my words. Nathan touched my arm lightly, steadying me, silently asking if I wanted to walk out and leave the chaos behind. But something in me refused to back down. I looked straight at Brittany, whose perfect image was crumbling before everyone's eyes. "If you really believe I don't belong here," I said, my voice low but strong, "then maybe it's you who doesn't belong in my life anymore." The room froze. Brittany's chest heaved, her eyes wide as the words sank in, deeper than any dagger could. With that, I stepped away, every gaze following me, every whisper chasing me, but none of them mocking anymore. For once they weren't laughing. The ballroom no longer belonged to Brittany. The whispers circling through the guests weren't about her dress or her big day. They were about me. My name slipped from lips in disbelief, shock, even admiration. Brittany's perfect world was crumbling in real time, her bridesmaids keeping their distance, the groomsmen avoiding her eyes. "You can't do this," Brittany snapped, her voice high and brittle. "You can't come in here and ruin everything. This is my moment." Nathan's eyes narrowed, his tone colder than ice. "No, Brittany. You ruined it the second you decided to humiliate your sister in front of everyone. Actions have consequences. You just never thought yours would catch up." The guests shifted uncomfortably, some nodding in agreement. James looked at Brittany with a mix of embarrassment and disappointment, his jaw clenched as he muttered, "Enough, Brittany. You're embarrassing yourself." She ripped her arm away. "Embarrassing myself? She's the one making a fool out of everyone. She thinks money makes her untouchable." "Stop." My voice cut cleanly through hers. I didn't raise it, but the command in it silenced her instantly. "This isn't about money. This is about respect, something you never gave me." I stepped closer until there was no space between us. Every eye remained fixed on the scene, no one daring to interrupt. "You've spent your whole life tearing me down, Brittany, but here's the truth. You only ever felt big because you thought I was small. The moment I stopped lowering my head, you had nothing left." Her face drained of color, the fury in her eyes flickering into something raw, fear. The crowd gasped when Nathan moved beside me, his presence overwhelming as his voice remained calm and final. "Emily doesn't need to prove herself to you anymore. But if you need proof, look around. This entire room just watched you try to destroy her and fail." Brittany's lips trembled, her power slipping completely away. I turned slowly to address the guests. "I don't want your pity. I don't need anyone's approval, but I won't let cruelty pass as entertainment anymore. Not from her, not from anyone." The words echoed heavily. Some guests lowered their heads in shame, while others nodded firmly. The balance had shifted completely. James spoke again, his voice sharp. Brittany, if this is who you are, humiliating your own sister, lashing out at everyone, maybe I should reconsider walking down that aisle. Gasps erupted. Brittany's knees seemed to buckle, her hand gripping the back of a chair to steady herself. James, you can't mean that. But his silence said everything. I didn't gloat or smirk. Instead, I stood taller, the weight of years lifting from my shoulders. For once, I felt free. Brittany's voice broke. You'll regret this, Emily. You'll regret humiliating me. I leaned in just enough for only her to hear, my voice steady and final. No. The only thing I regret is giving you the power to humiliate me for so long. That ends tonight. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't stay to watch her crumble. I turned, Nathan falling into step beside me, the entire room parting as we walked toward the exit. Heads bowed, whispers followed us, but no laughter, not anymore. As the heavy doors swung open, Nathan's voice dropped low, only for me. You don't need their validation, Emily. But after tonight, they'll never forget your name. The air outside was crisp, the night sky endless. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I glanced at him, my chest still tight with adrenaline. Why did you step in back there? His eyes softened, the steel in them easing. Because I saw someone worth defending, someone who didn't realize she already had the power to defend herself. For the first time in a long time, I smiled. Not the polite, forced smile I wore to survive, but a real one. Thank you, I whispered. He shook his head. Don't thank me. You did that on your own. All I did was remind you who you really are. And as we walked away from the glittering ballroom, leaving Brittany and her unraveling world behind, I knew he was right. I wasn't the shadow anymore. I was the storm they never saw coming. 2 weeks later, I received a text from James. He and Brittany had postponed their wedding indefinitely, and he was taking time to reevaluate what kind of person he wanted to spend his life with. As for Nathan and me, we decided to make our relationship public. No more hiding in the shadows in any part of my life. Before you go, here's a quick bonus for sticking around. If you love learning and growing like I do, you need to try audiobooks. I've got an exclusive deal with Audible. Your first month is completely free. That's access to over 500,000 titles, zero cost to you. All the details are waiting in the description. Don't miss this one.